Rebel Devs Podcast, a show that challenges conventional thinking in the tech industry. Each episode features conversations with solutionists who have taken unconventional approaches to problem solving, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in their respective fields. Join the devolution.
Hey, Rebel Devs. We're here today with myself, Tom May, Jonah May, as always, ready to bring some chaos to this world. And we're joined with Rick Vanover from Veeam. So welcome, gents.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. I love that little song. We all kind of danced our own way. That was good.
Yeah. We were very much on, do we do this kind of, I don't know if it's a mambo or something. That's probably the wrong thing. Or do we go serious? And we're like, forget it. Why be normal? And thus, that's why we're all here, because we're just not normal. Well, I can't speak for you. Maybe you're normal. I'm not. So anyway, well, today we're going to jump into the absolute awesomeness with Rick Vanover, and we're going to talk a little bit about ultra-resilient storage. So, Rick, I'm going to turn it over to you a little bit, and then we'll just lob it back and forth.
Well, first of all, if you're listening to this, you'll say, what is ultra-resilient? Well, it's on page 3 of the Rictionary, because I made that word up. Ultra-resilient storage is really just media types that are the best types of specimens to be prepared to deal with recovery in a ransomware situation. So I guess we should probably define it first. And, Jonah, you and I just recently did, a chat on that last week. But I think that word ultra-resilient it makes sense, right? When you think about it that way. I don't want to prescribe immutability or prescribe tape removed from the library. I like this kind of blanket term, ultra-resilient.
No, that's really awesome, because in our path as a service partner, what we often find are, customers come to us and say, can you make a recommendation? And we're like, absolutely. And really, without any kickbacks in our world, we're just kind of like, what works? And we're like, well, as long as they're different, we're really happy. And then when we get into what's different, let's go with the pluses and minuses of where we are. Is it an on-prem object first? Is it Exagrid? Is it HP? Are we moving to Amazon, Azure, wherever? Half the time it's, I have something old. I thought it was a boat anchor, right? And we're like, well, something is better than nothing in this world. And we start talking to them about Linux and hardened repository. So I love it. Ultra resilient storage. And this has kind of sparked a whole series here that we're doing, because we will talk to Object First and Backblaze and Wasabi and several other vendors. So this is great way to kick this whole thing off. Jonah, what's your take on it? I mean, ultra resilient.
I really like the word because, on the service provider side, I get a lot of the requests for immutable backups, because of course that's the big buzzword. Not that there's anything wrong with immutable backups, but there are other alternatives. Like Rick said, there's air-gapped tapes, there's virtual air-gapped insider protection with service providers. You can get that level of resiliency on your backups, but you don't have to use S3 object lock or whatever the XFS version is on the hardened repositories.
That's pretty awesome, because in every presentation I do, Rick, you brought it up, tape. And I'm always like, oh, why are we still talking about tape? And then people are like, should we use tape? And I'm always like, please don't. But I have to put an asterisk that it really is truly air gap separate, whatever. Wonderful when it works, but 2023, why tape? So I love it, man. Talk to me a little bit more. I mean, what are your flavors on these storage? Where do you go with it? And you're grinning, so you feel the same way about tape.
I was trying to pick a fight. I brought the teamwork. Yeah. So
man.
One thing on tape. First of all, make no mistake. Everyone has a story of tape letting them down. I think that's fair. But it is also concurrently an incredible innovation in the history of technology. And this is something that honestly even immutable object storage can't do. Tape media, especially worm media, write once, read many, removed from a library, is offline, air-gapped, and immutable all at the same time. I don't know another media specimen that can actually do that. But I love, Tom, when you kind of rattled off these options, at least in the Veeam world. You mentioned AWS, Azure, Wasabi, and those are just 3 that are in the public cloud world. Seagate Live Cloud would be another. But there's also like 31 or so on-premises unified storage systems that can do object storage. Object First, heard that one. Dell ECS, NetApp Storage Grid, those types as well. Object storage doesn't have to be in the public cloud. In fact, Veeam certifies more that are on-prem. The Linux hardened repository, Veeam hardened repository, love that thing. Now we can also do it with hardening, military spec hardening. So it really is a very resilient specimen on the XFS file system. And with that, you can have spaceless full backups with the block cloning. So you actually get a storage efficiency in the mix too. Service providers love Cloud Connect because Jonah brought that up. That has what I call 4 eyes recovery. It takes 2 humans to kind of expose that copy. That is an ultra resiliency technique in itself, right? And you also mentioned Exagrid, retention time lock. That is a mechanism that needs 4 eyes as well to expose that. Pure Storage has something like that. NetApp has something like that. So, this ultra resiliency, and then there's even then you can go to the edge. When I say edge, I mean, I've got, a workstation that I really care about, and I have minimal to no connectivity. Then we can entertain RDX drives and removable media that are just ejected. That counts as well, right? So I feel like the level of protection that people need, coupled with the 3-2-1 rule, we can actually dial it up for any set of circumstances, business requirements, budgets, cloud policies, cloud preferences, tape aversions, you name it. We can find a way to keep data safe, because I have nothing but evidence, Tom, of bad things happening to good data otherwise.
Oh, all day long. And you talk about cloud provider, and Jonah, you hit it too. When we're out consulting, often our customers are a little too large for your typical cloud provider. When they come to us, they're larger SMB enterprise. We have multi-data centers, and it's interesting that we'll typically pitch the cloud provider as a tertiary solution because it's the bench team. It's not just 2 eyes. It's not just 4 eyes, like you said. It could be 8, 10 people. Why wouldn't you want a team of experts that do this day in and day out, ready to overcome? And I mean, these guys are on the battleground when they're out there. Guys like Jonah, they are seeing failures all over, not from their fault, but they're just recovering through a multitude of customers. Whereas the average enterprise customer, how often do you really fail? So you're doing your labs, you're doing your containerized tests, but really these guys are just field tested warriors out there. So I love cloud solution being wrapped into ultra resilient storage as a concept. So it's an awesome thing. I'm going to throw this out here, and this is either going to make for great discussion or crickets, guys. But I read something about, was it DNA to tape? Did you read anything about this?
I think we discussed that last week briefly in our webinar, Rick, didn't we?
I don't know. I'm Googling it now. Let me see. There's nothing like live. Oh, that's interesting. Oh. No, it's news to me.
Well, while you're Googling that, I'd just like to point out that as much as Tom likes to rag on tape, he has helped customers even recently set up tape, from what I've heard. I will add the footnote of it was seeding to tape while writing offsite to S3 immutable storage. So they had an air-gapped backup while those seeds were running, but he was still setting up and using tape as much as he likes to rag on it.
Well, I like that because there's actually, you walk into something really powerful, Jonah. I am a big fan. It's still baseball season, right? It's almost the playoffs. But what I call double play immutability. So think about the 3-2-1 rule. Let's just have both copies immutable. And I like it when there are 2 completely independently different immutability strategies and control planes. Like if I just met someone, I would recommend, and they were like bonkers paranoid of ransomware, believe it or not. It's hard for Veeam to always make a recommendation because we're so agnostic. But I would say on premises, I would want something like, an object storage with immutability type of product on-prem, or the hardened repository, and then off-site to either a service provider or object storage with immutability, because then you can have both copies ultra resilient and totally different control planes. So S3 and tape, totally different, but yet they can recover in the same way. Those are some of the most resilient models right there, Jonah.
In my case, it was more because of bandwidth related. They were basically tin cans over a string. But the same concept is, I look at with data locality when I do it. When I'm out there speccing, of course, we love offsite. We love immuted to the cloud. However you get there, get it separated, right? But really in your failure, the closer we are to the source, it's so much easier. Because even when I was a cloud provider years ago, I would always have the conversation that, sadly enough, it's not hard to fail something to the cloud. It's always your recovery back from your recovery environment that's challenging. So if I'm up in that cloud, I better start doing some reverse seed loads and come on down. But how beautiful it is if I just have to stack up some tapes, load them in, run them, do my business, and come back up. And so sometimes a little bit of that prep time beforehand, pulling from those tapes, pays dividends later. So getting somebody to breathe in that situation, I find, is kind of the most value that somebody can bring is, let's take 10 minutes. We have a playbook, but let's spitball a little bit, because we'll go back to those baseball analogies. We're going to spitball a little bit, and then boom, let's go ahead and pull something together. So it's really rocking out there. I love all these options we have in there. DNA, Jonah, you said you talked about it last week. So basically, Rick doesn't remember it. I'm called out for not attending the webinar as a participant. Thank you for
hey, to make you feel better, I think it was just like a brief footnote mention of one of us went like, hey, we heard they're doing this now, or they're trialing it.
Do you know anything else about it other than I heard DNA and I went tapes? Ugh, but the concept I kind of heard was really blowing away all concept of storage limitations on the tape. Like this was just going to take your average tape and just make it astronomical. And I will put a footnote here saying this is just my opinion off the top of my head with no actual Google foo behind it. Like this is just catching a blurb. What do you know about it, Jonah? Anything cool? Exciting?
I've heard about it on and off for years, and it's not even necessarily just tape using DNA for tape backup, but using DNA storage to replace all existing storage mediums. It seems like it might still be quite a ways off, though. I'm seeing maybe 2030 is what some people are saying from back in December. So I don't know, maybe one day, we'll have quantum computers and DNA storage.
I'm hoping that's after my retirement. I don't know, because I lived through plasma TVs and they were awesome till they weren't. It's living. It's awesome. It's burned in. There we go. So a lot of groaning from me today. All right, Rick. Well, we've kind of paid the bills a little bit. My marketing team likes this. I'm sure yours does too. We've hit a lot of the high vendors. We've SEO'd ourselves up. Like, we are awesome here. We can stay on business. I know it was a short hop in there. We can mention some vendors. We can drill this a little bit further, or we can kind of get into some of the spice. And you see, that's a hook there if you're listening. Spice, because it's a preview of what's coming up. But what do you want to do? You want to drill in, or we want to have some fun before we burn off our time here? What do we want to do, folks?
I think I'm all about the fun. I mean, I think what we just talked about is there's some high-level advice. Number one, there's a lot of options. Number two, it gets specific quick. You mentioned a scenario with low bandwidth, right? So that might predicate some of these options aren't the way to go. Talk to Tom, talk to Jonah, talk to Rick at Veeam. So I think that the short and sweet view is that we can protect data to any situation nowadays. And I think that's all they need to know. It gets specific quickly. That's the one thing I'll say, based on what you have, where it's going, what's your appetite for whatever and whatever. So, I don't know. Let's bring the spice.
All right, spice. I'm going to tack on one thing to you because I can't ever leave it alone. What I'll say is, I think when it comes to your data guy, and I think you'll agree with this, you want a paid pessimist, essentially. So often we hire these folks to come in, we look at Veeam and we go, what's our strategy? And secretly we're like, we want Veeam to say it's all good, it's perfect. And in my world, I always want an advisor that goes, you've done a really good job, but here's some of the pain points or areas you can go. And I think that brings value. So every time I go to a Veeam or I look at a new feature release and there's some way new to do it, I'm just kind of like, oh, there's another thing we could do. But equally, I get excited because that just means I'm making a better, secure solution in there. And I think that's what we really want to take away from resiliency. If you have one, get two. If you have two, get three. If you have three, get four. Come on, folks. It's only money. No big deal. The sales guys love us, right? But it's the way to go in my mind. Pessimism is a good thing. You should also
be familiar with it. If you've got two, know how to use them both.
Yeah.
If you have two, like, oh, I don't know how to restore from tape, so I'll do it from the cloud. To take that example. I think the finer points in life and those pessimist type views is, okay, I've got both, but I need to know how to use them, right? So there's a piece of free advice.
Sweetness. Well, I'm going to close out part one here.
Whether you're a seasoned solutionist or just starting out, the Rebel Devs podcast is a must listen. So join us. Comment, share, and subscribe. Be part of the Rebel Devs.